All right, we're ready to go. All right. Thank you, Jesse. The district manager, Jesse Bodine. My name is Maria Ortiz, and CB4 chair, Jessica Chait just walked in their room. Hello, Jessica. I'm Maria Ortiz, co-chair of Housing, Health, and Human Services. This is my co-chair, Joe Rasucha. This is our February 2024 monthly meeting. We meet the first Thursday of every month, usually. This month, we had to make a little change. I'm not going to get into the details of why. In-person attendance is required for all CB members, all community board members, for all the meetings, unless the member has extraordinary circumstances and or a disability. And if a member does not have an extraordinary circumstance or disability, they're considered absent and not able to vote. And if the committee members are joining via Zoom, they must keep their cameras on. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and is currently live streaming on YouTube, where it will live forever. If you're here in person and want to speak, please write your name on the speaking list. It's in the back of the room. And if you do want to speak tonight, you're going to be standing in the middle of the room where the X is. Okay, the middle of the room towards the front. X marks the spot. We encourage everyone to sign up to receive emails from CB4 to receive the agenda and community information. If this is your first time at a CB4 meeting, there's three main things to know. The first is that the presenter is going to speak first, then the committee members will speak and ask questions. Next, members of the public can ask questions, make comments, and depending how many they are, we would time you 2 minutes each. Finally, the discussion goes back to the committee. The second thing is, during the committee discussion on some agenda items, committee members are going to vote to make a resolution or write a letter that goes before the full board, where we vote on it there. And the full board meeting is the first Wednesday of every month. The third thing is that if you're attending virtually and you want to make a comment or speak, ask questions, etc., you have to raise your hand. I don't know if anyone's calling in, but you would use the *9 to raise your hand. And first, what I'd like to do is just go around the room and committee members to introduce themselves, because we can, starting with Katie. Okay.
Hi, I'm Katie Stokes, and I am a member of this committee, as well as ACES, and I live in Chelsea.
Good evening, I'm John Daniel Nolan. I'm the co-chair of the Health Kitchen Land Use Committee, visiting Chelsea.
I'm Paul Ames, fellow member of this committee, live in Health Kitchen. VP as a member of the committee, and live in Health Kitchen.
Dolores Rubin, Rachel Lee, committee member.
Dr. Vasquez, a member of this committee and land use, and I've lived in Chelsea over 30 years.
Roberta Barnett, member of this committee.
And online, can community board members, committee members introduce yourselves, please?
Wilson Cano. I am currently employed at Hudson Guild, as a disclaimer, the location where you're sitting at right now.
Yes, thank you. Betty? Oh.
I'm you, Betty, you're muted.
Oh, well. Anyway, I'm Betty McIntosh still, and I live in Chelsea and spent quite a few nights and meetings on the working group for the planning for the first round of a proposal for the public housing projects that we are under discussion tonight. Thank you.
And we have Travis Rogers, who is I forgot the word. What is the word? Public. Thank you. Public member. Okay. And tonight on the agenda, we have NYCHA discussing the interim repairs and the security plan. And then we're going to discuss the draft scope of work. And I don't know if
Yeah,
Joe,
so,
you want to mention anything?
just to note that NYCHA will make a presentation to us. The committee will ask questions, the public will be able to ask questions regarding the presentation or regarding interim repairs. And then NYCHA may stay or leave as we talk about the broader, our committee's recommendations to the Chelsea Land Use Committee for the draft scope of work that's happening. So we're gonna have two sort of robust discussions. Let's start. The presenter tonight is Jamar, correct? Yes, okay. And you can stand up front here and just so you're, I know, no, not the
No,
X.
no, you're gonna stand.
That's later the X. You stand here, this microphone will pick you up. The basic thing we're trying to do, Jamar, is to make sure that the virtual public can hear. So like right there. Yeah. And then turn it right mic picks up. Yes, it does. Yeah.
But it's an excellent mic, so
Yep.
it'll pick you up.
Great.
Well,
Like if you whisper, it'll pick you up. So don't even.
we don't want a high mic situation.
Even better. Well, good evening. Thanks everyone for coming out. I'm gonna give our presentation, as Joe referred to on, the, security, pests and the overall maintenance plan that, we're talking about for the Chelsea Elliott Fulton, proposed plan. So who's controlling this? I'm not. No problem. Just, I wasn't sure. I said the gentleman's there. Next slide. So here are the kind of, I'll step out the way to make sure everyone can see.
Thank you.
Here are the four primary areas of what we have, claimed as the meanwhile plan is the only thing that we use. So enhanced security, pest control, building systems, maintenance, and apartment repairs. So enhanced security is talking about unarmed guards walking the site. We'll get into that. Pest control is talking about, pest control on the site, as well as in the interiors of the buildings. We have building system maintenances, which is talking about boiler repairs, and the other, steam trap systems down at the Fulton campus. And then, apartment repairs, talking about in-unit, apartment work that will be taking place as a part of our scope. Next slide, please. So talking about timeline, the first part of the timeline is the onboarding security and pest control team, which is taking place. We were able to get a license agreement, an updated license agreement with NYCHA signed, that will allow us to execute or provide the security team services as well as the pest control on site. And then we will start to onboard the building systems firm company to come on and assist with those items. Phase one is starting on Monday. So February 19th, we will have 4 security guards at Chelsea, well, 2 at Chelsea, 2 at Fulton that will be 24/7 on the campus. Again, we'll get into more detail on that, as well as a component of the pest control will start at that time. Phase 2 will include boiler repairs, as well as the steam trap monitoring and repairs. We'll be including lobby televisions into every lobby. So we have a little bit of an easier way to communicate with residents on a daily basis, but also be able to, share with them other events or things that just happening on the campus. We'll be doing some building entrance access controls, so updating those things to make sure those front doors lock, which is part of the security plan. Again, talking about, advancing the building system maintenance and then in-unit pest control. And then the final phase of the plan is in-unit repair. So the water leaks, so fixing any leaks, broken pipes, missing cabinets and sinks, as well as missing tubs. Next slide. So talking about security in specific detail. So again, 2 unarmed foot patrol on the campus, both campuses, 24/7. Again, that's starting on Monday. As well as the 2 foot patrol that's happening on the campus. We'll have a 24-hour phone line. Later in the presentation, we'll provide the number on that phone line for everyone. Then the third thing is a part of the security is that we'll start having our monthly security meetings. That monthly security meeting will happen with the residents of Chelsea, Elliott, as well as Fulton. And then we'll later we will start the access control improvements on fixing those front doors that have broken doors, locks, and then providing residents with updated key fobs that correlate with those new access controls that we placed in put in service. The reason this is said anticipated start date, not a hard and firm start date, is because this will be a part of the scope of work that will be enacted once the documents are signed that allows us to do additional work at the campus between essence related as well as NYCHA. Those documents have not yet been signed. Next slide. So again, talking about security scope of work, kind of the roles that will be laid out with security folks. We have protection service. So walking around, their primary goal is to be deterrence, excuse me. So they'll have uniforms. We have a picture of some of their uniforms. They'll have uniforms on identifying the security. Again, they'll walk around the campus. Their primary role in the first phase is walk around the outside of the campus. They'll have access keys to the lobbies of all these buildings because their residents have, said that they've been having issues with kids from the schools coming into the lobby, hanging out, trespassing, as well as homeless. And so therefore they will have keys to access those lobbies. But in this first phase, they will not do any verticals. When we had our meeting with PSA4 and the precinct, it was advised by PSA4 and 2 precinct that they didn't think they should be doing the verticals. And they said that was because obviously these folks are unarmed. And even the police department has a unique way they have to deal with the homeless because if they have their own, bags, or mats, or what have you, there's specific rules around what the police can do when engaging with them. One of the things we've been trying to do is we've reached out to 4 different homeless services organizations, as opposed to just having our security concierge or the police.
I thought you were a building developer. You're a socialist now?
Sorry, it's making a presentation. Sit down. Keep going, Jamar.
So as opposed to having that, we wanted to have a homeless services organization come to the campus to engage with those homeless folks to help them get the resources they need. But they have all said to us, and we're trying to find more. They all said, 4 organizations said to us that they were already over capacity with their services because the migrant crisis that they are managing right now. Then talking about safety patrol and access controls. So again, unarmed, walking around the site, walking in the lobby, foot patrol. On the weekends, on the weekends and at night, there will be a mobile patrol. So in addition to the 4, there'll be a mobile patrol that's kind of coming in periodically, checking in on the site staff, making sure they have the proper resources they need, assisting when they need to. Again, I'd like to say that everyone as a part of this on the site patrol and everyone on the campus for these roles are 32 BJ staff members. And then talking about operational maintenance, they'll be providing reports for any events that happen on the campus. Those reports will be provided to both NYCHA.
Caesar, please sit down.
As well as.
Please sit down, Caesar. Hold on, come on. No, Caesar, please sit down.
I like her. I can't.
Then stand in the back of the room, please. Not a problem.
So, thank you. So, again, they will engage with residents. Again, they're trying to de-escalate certain situations. They will be communicating with law enforcement with the 10th precinct and PSA4. They'll be communicating with on-site staff management. They will be conveying messages of the security, the kind of confines and rules that NYCHA has set up, as well as what we will create with the residents as a part of the site and the campus. And then, going to operations and management. They will assist if any emergency happens with vacating the building for FDNY. They will summon the appropriate security services if there's an emergency that happens. And again, they will provide reports for us, NYCHA, and as a part of the plan. And that those reports can be provided to on a broader level to the management security team that we would set up that will meet on a monthly basis. Next slide. So again, Alliance, will be a security company that's been a security concierge. The phone number that will go live, so if you try to call the number tonight, you will not get anyone, but starting, 6 a.m. on, Monday morning, Fulton, you call 646-625-770. You'll be put in contact with, their hubs. Same thing with Elliott, Chelsea, you call 646-625-7758. Even 85, excuse me, you'll be getting in contact with the people on the Chelsea Elliott site. And as well, you can send an email to dispatcher@alliance.us. And again, you can see the uniform, cold weather. We had to put a smiley face on there because we actually were successful enough because we did a whole bunch of engagement on the site for workforce training, job opportunities. We actually were able to hire a number of residents for the role. We had taken a photo of one of the residents in the uniform, but we didn't get clearance yet to use his photo, so you get a nice happy smile. Next slide. So talking about pest control. So again, pest control will in earnest start March 1st. We're already engaging with, and our pest team is already engaging with NYCHA management staff. So what we'll be doing, so we'll do in-unit, so building and landscaping. So again, talking about phase one, the initial base stations will be set up on all 18 buildings. There's roughly there's a number of locations where there's outside trash pickup. So we'll set up the base stations around those and any other locations that the firm down the block has identified as trouble and problematic areas. Then twice a month, pest control will be done where all common areas, spaces, basements, utility rooms, as well as so all the pesticides that we use are state, federal governments, and the methodology that they would apply. Twice a month, we'll do exterior rodent burrow treatments, so finding where those rats are, the burrows, their habitation, and addressing those. And then on a quarterly basis, we'll do a full cleaning inside the building of all the trash chutes to kind of clean it out to help make sure there's not a lot of feeding locations inside the building. So that's part of phase one. Phase two will be we will be doing in-unit in-unit extermination work in conjunction with NYCHA. NYCHA already does some of that work, but we'll be doing additional in-unit work in coordination with NYCHA on this. So that's again a part of phase two for the pest control. Next slide, please. That's it. So
That can't be it. We have a large presentation we received earlier.
No, you made it that slide. You need that.
So I'll kind of just fill up some layers.
Yeah.
Well, no, but so again,
That's all I got.
so okay. Okay. Well, again, I'll talk a little about like we talked about security, went through a couple slides in that, talked about pest control, went through a couple slides in that. Again, the third phase of security, which again will start once we get the final contract signed.
I'm sorry. Jesse, can you actually go back to that screen where he has phase one? The presentation has phase 1, 2, and 3.
And didn't we get a longer presentation earlier, Jesse?
No, I don't have to heard NYCHA with NYCHA, but yeah, this is the one that we've been making.
Okay. Yeah, let's go back to the phasing slide.
Yeah, and then that'll help guide, I guess, the discussion also.
Right.
And we can actually start with, you guys want to start with questions now, we can start with questions on this, on the.
Oh, yeah, we're going to just give us a moment to get it ready. With the
this slide.
timeline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So just a couple of basic questions for clarity for the committee. First, the start date is February 19th for the security, correct? All right. Second, the start date for the pest control, is it March or March 1st?
could be March 1st.
March 1st, okay.
Okay.
And that's a hard start date, ready, arranged, and agreed.
Yes.
All right. You mentioned the reason this was delayed, I understand, getting a license agreement from NYCHA, right? So what a license agreement is, it gives someone who is not part of the ownership, the ability to do work on the owner's behalf. That agreement is solely for the security and the pest control, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you want to be able to get us, so just for those two items. So we're not talking about the phase 2 or phase 3 yet, of their a legal ability to do something about it. The homeless services, which organizations did you contact about that? Well, they said, no, we need to know.
Our mission, BRC, Midtown, Community Court, I think it's called.
I think it's not a homeless.
Milltown Community Court.
Right, but not in this robust way to.
And then, Breaking Ground.
Okay. And all those organizations, because they're so overextended, said they were not able to offer services at this time.
Yeah, so if CB4 has recommendation organization that we can connect with, we would love to, because again, we would just connect them with our security concierge team, so that then we have we work with them to figure out a protocol. But if a resident called our security team and said, hey, I found someone on the 13th floor sleeping or what have you, then we would want to reach out to them. And then, potentially have that in concert with the police joining, so that then that person can do the resources they need.
So this committee is familiar with all these organizations. So we'd be able to recommend specifically those which we're confident in and provide services versus ones which are not the same level of competency. We'd certainly be willing to do that to help with the process. What is the mobile patrol? What does that mean, mobile patrol? Is that a car?
So it's a car. So there'll be a supervisor at each site, at the sites. And then there'll be a mobile patrol that comes by again, on off hours, so the weekend, and then at night, to just make sure. So their mobile patrol will be kind of going around multiple locations. But when they are in this area, they'll be stopping by here, checking on the team.
So the workforce development part on hiring residents, right? How many of the whole team you have are actually current Chelsea NYCHA residents?
I'm not exactly certain. I just know 2 of them come up to me and show me their alliance card.
Right.
I don't know
Just want to give a caution to you as the developer and for us to understand the community. This is a change. And one of the things that's a definite question, it's good to get people employed, but putting residents in a position to engage with other residents when there's all kinds of ties that you may have no clue about among the families and individuals could be an issue that creates a difficulty for those residents and or their families. And I'm gonna say this as a practitioner, that for example, in my small world of supportive housing, we never hire residents to be at a front desk because of issues they may be in conflict. So although it's the right thing to do to hire residents, this is one that could be an issue for all of us to deal with, right?
Yeah, it's something that's been considered. The security firm has done this before in the past and has solved issues. So there's some provisions in the contract that allow for us to move into another site.
That's a concern we have right away. That you don't want to have a conflict that ends up in a dangerous circumstance for a family or an individual. And then you mentioned one thing on security, and that is related to other things you called the documents. What documents are you referring to for the next 2 phases?
So we're working right now with NYCHA to sign multiple documents, master development agreement, that would actually hold in it the other, so the unit work. So again, for my nomenclature, meanwhile, specifically in unit. So that actually has exhibits that kind of outline that, and that document is not done.
So let's say for a moment that as you're doing the master development agreement, it's not quite there yet, but it holds up. Remember, this is a big endeavor, right? No matter what. I'm sorry. This is I got there. Yeah, this is a big endeavor, right? So there's a lot of moving parts. If in the effect. Okay, so Caesar, you gotta be quiet while we're talking because people want to hear what they're saying, okay?
Please.
And then you can talk all you want and you're free to do it, okay? So in this discussion, if in fact there are other things that prevent you from doing other work, I think we'd like to state that whatever license agreement you have, we say this to NYCHA. We'd rather that be embodied in a license agreement that is easy to figure out, even though you may have to do things like getting reimbursed, you know, it's money and stuff like that, right? Get that part, but perfect is the enemy of the good. And this is a whole process that all of us are going through here. So people are gonna want the boiler repairs to happen, right? The steam traps, what do I know about steam traps, right? So the point is that I think we'd like to advise both you as developer and NYCHA, think about alternative methods to get you to do more interim repairs and work that do not pull back and tie into the whole, getting everything figured out. Because it's great to figure everything out, but in the meantime, as long as you get paid back, I think that's a good thing. So that's the last piece I want to bring to the committee's attention. I am making the assumption, and please tell me if I'm wrong, we've talked about this in another meeting, that whatever investment or thing or money you put in for various uses, as part of the overall development deal related, will get some consideration or reimbursement for that. Is that still accurate?
Well, part of the overall,
I mean,
yeah, you're part of our, started early.
right, and I'm saying, but it somehow counts. If you put in
Yes.
40 million, $10 million, you're gonna get $10 million of consideration as part of the, as you're negotiating, right? Right, some of it's at risk, some of it's not, but so it's not as if related is not gonna get paid or become whole for this to some degree as you go through it. I'm just asking that, I'm just trying to distill those for everybody.
Part of the overall.
Right. So again, it's not like they're just putting out money and maybe that, you know, it's part of the deal. I think those are the qualifications that I had to ask. Maria, do you have any other, for clarity's sake? And then we'll go around.
No, the only thing I was curious about, but phase 2 and 3, I understand something needs to happen before that can begin, where documents need to be signed, but if I'm a tenant, I'm curious, when does phase 2 and 3 begin?
So, timing wise, we're talking about mechanisms. So documents have to be signed. Our understanding is that documents are going to be complete in its entirety in a 2-month period of time. So therefore, if I was talking to a resident, I say, we're talking about roughly 2 months before the balance of all the meanwhile, again, the notification we use.
So could I just say again, in the event that perfect world doesn't come to pass, can you come back to us? Like in, you know, a month or so, give us an update, because we'd like there to be more predictability in this discussion, because we were informed, the board was informed a month ago or so, this was starting much earlier. And the last thing we want to do is put out information that creates false expectations, and then people talk about what's happening or not happening. So the more certainty we bring to it, and even if it's longer, it doesn't matter. The more we say what it is, it'll help. So let's go around the room for questions. Sorry.
Oh, just one second.
Can I move the share screen? Or we still want?
I think maybe the question might come up here. So again, we're going to focus on this phase 1, not the phase 2 and 3. Roberta, first questions.
I did not realize you were going to tell me. I'm gonna could just explain the conditions that happen for each phase in a little bit greater specificity. That would
Is Roberta?
Yeah.
So Roberta, so phase, preamble, phase 1, starting on Monday, 19th, President's Day.
and there's nothing else that has to be done.
You know, everything is done to get to, you know, phase 1 will start on the 19th, 100%. Yeah, New York City still exists, phase 1 will start. Phase two and phase 3, phase 2, again, the documents we're referring to have to be executed. So from a legality perspective, we don't have a license agreement to kind of do any of these things. We have a license agreement that allows us to do these things. But again, wrapped into the whole other deal, and the bigger deal is, you know, in there, all the other things. The difference between phase 2 and phase 3 is the in-unit work that has to happen. We have to go in, and again, we're working to figure out a system to identify with the residents what residents have water leak issues, broken pipe issues, missing cabinets and sinks, and missing tubs. We get photos from time to time from residents showing us these conditions. We reach out to NYCHA tries to relocate them into buildings, units that don't have those issues. Keep talking, but ultimately, you know, we had some lead time because we have to order the cabinets, right? We have to order the tubs. You know, there's some ordering that has some lead time associated with it. So even after the contract is signed, there's some lead time for this stuff, and not every cabinet is the same, because every unit's not the same. So there's a little bit of lead time of like when the new unit work starts. But all these things here, you can see, there are things that can start. They don't have, like, we've actually, you know, started to test the orders for some of these things, or have a contract ready. We can't technically sign them until our contract's signed, but like, once it's all done, we'll sign contracts and get that stuff in. So there's a little bit of lead time associated with phase 3, and actually get into resident units to figure out specifically what the needs are. So
Well, and then, so Robert, I'm sorry, can you just speak louder? They were having trouble online hearing you.
So the only other question I had here was, is there a way that you're ordering what is happening to phase 3?
Excuse me, you really have to lower your voice. So other people can be heard, okay? Go ahead, Roberta.
How will you choose whether to update something in one unit over the other? Is it how items come in, like the things that you're procuring in order to update the units?
Well, Roberta, I have to say, I think we have to ask them. I think we're jumping a bit, because there's so much more organization that has to happen for them to present to us, that I don't even know, like, that question is totally right, but like, I would expect you would come back and say, based upon our surveying, checking, work orders, here are the main things, here, 17 departments of this, like, I would expect you to come back with full information, as opposed to us trying to extract it from you. And that's something you need to do with NYCHA overall, like, and really give us a full picture, because this is a little too off the cuff for useful public information. Do you mind?
I'll say this. So part of it will be, there's some people that's already reached out to us, right, and made very clear their issues. We know their issues better. So there will likely be the people we want to address absolutely first, because we know their issue, we want to address it. To your point, Joe, we can come in and say, hey, based upon kind of the anecdotes and the visuals, we've seen photos and gone into people's units, we know there's X amount of units that have these problems that we're planning to address in the absolute first phase when we start phase 3, I think. But the open will be these units across both campuses. So, and then to your point, we'll be also assessing other units. And
I have to say, honestly, I would find it to be quite questionable if the person who had the loudest voice and coming in and complaining about something, as opposed to you're going through the full NYCHA work orders, making a full analysis of what it is and doing a comprehensive inspection is not the way to proceed. That means I made the most noise, I get something done. So it's going to just create a perpetual cycle of people making noise, as opposed to you evaluating this most serious matters that exist and actually coming back to us the full phase plan, how you're going to address it. Sorry, really.
Joe, can I second that? I expected to have here a full audit would have been completed, instead of you telling me about what the process might be. And I would like to hear what the audit would look like.
Yeah, and I don't know how you do it, but I'm just saying to you again, we expect a comprehensive response on everything, and not a general, here's an idea. So, and you've done it for the first phase here. Here's what it is, details. We are working in details and specificity going forward on this entire project. We are done with the general portion. You have a scoping thing that we're going to respond to with a multi-page letter, and it's all about details. So, development team, your experience. The general was the thing that happened. We're in a different phase now. Let's go to Hector next.
Yes,
Do you actually say yes?
thinking aside from
Hector, just.
You gotta speak loud.
Speaking apart from being a member of committee before, I have been approached by many community members in Chelsea, Fulton houses that are in Chelsea, and their main concerns have been security and pest control. It's been neglected for many years, as we all know. It's been very rare. So as far as the concerns about the finances, we all already know as residents that is included in the master plan on redevelopment of these developments. So basically, as far, I'm very happy to hear, because a lot of concerns have been on security as well, because basically there's a lot of trespassing, a lot of, individuals that come to their homes, their buildings. We had a fire the other day, and I was personally a part of it, Miguel Acevedo, the president of Fulton, had attended, where basically a individual had trespassed on the property at 19th Street, and they caused a fire because basically they threw a cigarette butt down a crack inside the stairwell that the firemen had to break down a wall, break down several entrances around for the maintenance board because they cannot locate where the fire is. So basically, and I told provide that. as well.
Keep
So
on talking.
basically, long story short, I'm very happy that, and I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of the individuals that speak on this, that security is up there on top, along with that's what you want. It's been a major issue. So, as far as I goes, I know individuals been waiting on that. I know you're saying the 19th is
Monday.
The start date. Okay,
Not
yeah.
hopefully, definitely.
Yeah.
Reported.
You know, that's-
He reported, he did not report hopefully. We got that changed.
I understand, but I also understand that, individuals and open houses in Elliott have been told that certain dates were deadlines. Like, the beginning of February was supposed to be,
Correct.
security was supposed to be in place, but that did not happen. Unfortunately, NYCHA has been reminiscent on some of their duties on signing off on some of this. So, moving forward, I know as since the related trying to keep to the deadlines, but is NYCHA basically the main, bottleneck that they're opening up on a lot of these signing off on moving forward? Is that, you know, I understand that that's a topic of interest for you guys to say, but I'm curious as to find out if that's the actual issue.
Hector, I want to say, I don't think asking this developer in a public meeting, if NYCHA is the problem, that they're gonna respond. I think we understand the nature of NYCHA moving ahead. And I'm gonna reiterate, the dates you've given us, February 19th and March 1st, those are hard dates, all settled, license agreement in place, contracts in place. Is that correct?
Yes.
For one more time for the public.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Right.
And we need to sort of keep this on, because of course, as you know, the community board got a different set of dates like you got.
Yes.
That's the thing. So that's our job, keeping it on together.
And I agree with 100%, Joe. Unfortunately, it's been a regular scheme for NYCHA to say, we're gonna have, you know, relating to this has been very straightforward on the dates. Unfortunately.
Hector, it's gonna be an ongoing scheme with NYCHA. The leopard is not changing its spots because there's something in hand. I want to note one thing, note what you said. The fire and the person in the building, the current security arrangement will not stop or treat them.
Why
Because
not?
because they
I'm
don't,
sorry, Joe.
because they don't-
The security was in place, that individual would not have been in the lobby.
if they got into the building one way or the other, they would not currently have the ability to go above. That's all I'm talking about. Going
Right
above.
now, there are actual individuals from high school students.
Right.
To homeless individuals entering these buildings, trespassing, doing whatever, urinating.
I understand.
defecating, Smoking. doing drugs.
Okay. Hector, I'm gonna ask again.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask I'm gonna ask hold on, guys, hold on, please, hold on, please. I'm gonna ask ethically related. If someone today, sorry, guys, please, yes. If after February 19th, you get a call that someone's on the 14th floor in the stairwell, right? You will refer that to TSA for, right? That's how it works. That's how it works.
That's correct.
That's correct. Now, if there is someone, I'm trying to get the real specifics here. If there is somebody in the lobby, hello, please. If there's somebody in the lobby, right? And you get a phone call, someone's in our lobby at 419, right? And can your security folks ask them to leave?
Yes,
Okay, and if they don't leave, then you will call the police,
yes,
right? Your security folks cannot remove them.
no,
I'm just trying to get the clarity. I want to manage expectations for everybody in the building, because otherwise this goes south very quickly, you know what I mean? Like, the guy was there, he didn't say, you know, like,
I understand.
and someone's got a camera saying they wouldn't, you know, like.
And we've had residents who have actually asked them to leave.
Sure.
Which is not their job, but they try to do, you know, try to secure their buildings that they live in. And we've had individuals maced.
Yes.
And, you know, not to fall PSA4, but they've been as best they can, but there's only 2 individuals signed to further development at one time.
But
And sometimes they get stretched out.
where I'm going with this is just to understand the degree of what the security can or can't do. So everyone understands, both in this meeting, the public, and going forward, all the residents, the tenants, what can and can't happen. So we don't get a false sense of expectation that the security guard with a smiley face is gonna hustle somebody out if they don't wanna go.
Right.
Right? They can it's deterrence, that's all. I know, but
And I agree 100%. And honestly, only the NYCHA has the
That's right.
authorization to do that. And I'm sure the security company knows that.
right.
So honestly, that's what.
But the tenants may not know that, they gotta know. Great, next.
I have one comment and two suggestions, if you may. So I appreciate the thought that went behind the kind of content security plan. That is something that, Hector is suggesting and many of our members have commented, brought up their concerns. I think there was one thing that's missing. It's
a little
pretty
loud.
comprehensive, even louder than this.
Yeah, just a little loud. Okay.
I think if there's one thing that's missing from this presentation is communication. I think it's information for the residents. And that's kind of a common theme. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but many of our NYCHA residents have come to our housing meeting, board meeting, talking about this issue almost every single time. They've been very vocal, very persistent, and very committed to working their. But at the same time, whatever you're planning, I think is not completely accurately being communicated back. I also understand expectations, so I would encourage you in the next update, some, additional detail or more active outreach to residents be done. So two specific suggestions would be for the security. You had a slide with the 24-hour contact number. Let that be disseminated, right? Bring it like a flyer or a little door magnet for all the residents, so they have it there in case there's something that goes wrong, so they have direct access to the contact. Or display it on that lobby TV that you're planning on, right? So they have. The second point about in-unit repairs, understand there are contractual issues or like a longer term implication that needs to be sorted out. But again, not everyone's mobile enough to come to these meetings or to get the lobby television or come to you, asking you for repairs to be done. Please take a more active role in reaching out to them, providing them the information, because it seems like that's a perspective thing that may be causing a lot of this kind of disaster.
More than.
Okay, let's go to Dolores. Thank you.
I'm just gonna be an echo chamber. I think everyone's being very kind. This was a very full presentation from a company related that, can do much better. It didn't really provide the specifics people wanted. And to Rachel's point about handling the work orders, potential work orders, there already is an organization that has an entire history of all the problems and concerns. That's NYCHA. We're working with. So there is already a database of problems. And as Joe already mentioned, again, being an echo chamber, there are resources to do that analysis of what are the most pressing issues, what are the most reported issues that also can lead you to connecting those dots, whether or not that's related to a whole line of apartments, instead of picking and choosing part of one, which will probably be more expensive for you in the long run. So I didn't say anything new, just that amplifying our response to this.
Let's go to Katie.
So a couple questions. So first, there was the reference earlier to like an audit of in-unit problems, right? So like taking an overview, finding out, so that then you have a sense of, all right, it turns out if all these people's stoves aren't working or whatever. Is there a plan for doing such a sort of audit or somehow coordinating with NYCHA so that before June 1st or whenever it is, you can actually start the in-unit problems? That you have a pretty detailed plan of approach for the problems, or is the process that you're going to wait until June 1st when you're allowed to start to then start an audit? So I guess so that's my actually start with that and we'll go to Amanda.
So to that question, Rachel?
Katie,
My apologies.
that's right.
So, Katie, so yes, NYCHA has a whole bunch of data. They can track all the leaks and,
Great.
that's reported. And so they have a number of other reports they provide, reporters, as well as we have HOU on the campus. There's 10 staff members for HOU. across the two campuses. They have actually been going into residence units, having sit down conversation with them, asking them questions about, issues they're having, helping them on various other things. And they're actually reporting some things back to us. Again, a lot of information we're getting is through HOU. We have the NYCHA data. We also have the.
So NYCHA is sharing it with you all.
Yeah, so NYCHA has definitely been sharing something. This is not like, but again, part of what was said before, that's what we have to do is layer in the NYCHA data with the HOU data that they've gone in the housing units. And also we've had some contractors being going to some housing units. So it's kind of layer all three of those things together to you guys' point to come up with a comprehensive plan, but.
And the goal is to have a comprehensive plan before June 1st.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get access to you gotta get access to the units, so we'll have a comprehensive plan as much as we possibly can based on our ability to access you.
Yeah, right. So we got a yes. We wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So that sounds, that's good on the way, right?
Yep.
Steve?
Yeah, then, well, actually, sorry, related to that, is there gonna be some sort of coordination with the NYCHA maintenance staff? I mean, presumably.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are gonna have your own team, but so there is gonna be coordination.
Still maintain all their attention responsibilities. All this work is sort of supplemental. We'll definitely be working with them.
Okay, and then, so I was wondering, my next question is just about if you can provide greater clarity on the coordination between the Alliance security staff and PSA4 and the 10th precinct. Because I'm just a little unclear, like, I mean, we know that there isn't, enough security, right? And now it's lovely, there'll be some more security. But do you have plans like we'll be on this side and then they're gonna be over there, or we're only gonna be doing the lobbies and they're gonna be clearing this? I'm just wondering, are you all will they be in contact every day in a planful way? Or is it more just like, hey, if we need them, we'll call them?
And it's really like a management strategy.
Yeah, like, if there's a coordination plan.
So we've had one meeting with the executive teams or leadership in both groups, PSA4, 10th precinct, and Alliance, right? The next step is to have a meeting with the actual, kind of boots on the ground from both organizations, so that we start to work together and talk about exactly your point, the communications plan. I cannot speak specifically to it because that very specific meeting has not yet happened. We're trying to get it scheduled as quickly as possible to make sure all that stuff kind of gets managed. We do know that we have provided to PSA4 and the 10th precinct the numbers associated with Alliance, the contact information associated with Alliance, the supervisors' names, numbers, etc. So that already has happened, but we want to do it more on a ground level so that, I think it's like 15 or 16 people that were hired to be 24-hour security, right? So, kind of multiple rounds. Like we want to make sure all of their names, contact information is had by the PSA4, so that then if PSA4 or 10th precinct comes to a site and someone's been trying to de-escalate the situation, they instantaneously walk into the room and know Greg works for Alliance, right? Like, and like Greg's on the list, and we know our thought is that Greg is someone who's kind of trying to help us. He was part of the people who called us to the scene. So
okay, so you are working on some sort of coordination plan.
I want to follow up on that because I want to make it even stronger. No, you need to have a weekly coordination meeting between PSA4, 10th precinct, and Alliance to manage this. And there needs to be minutes kept of those meetings, so there can be a record of what happens. So when there are issues that come up, you are covered and the community is covered and the NYCHA residents are covered. Otherwise, there is no record of what happens. We frequently, Jesse has to set up all kinds of coordination meetings among various entities when we have these issues that happen. Something as simple as, like a construction task force we have. So you have all these things, it's a regular meeting, everybody comes together, you discuss, oh, so-and-so, is this issue over there, that same homeless person, whatever it is, and you talk. What you're talking about now is an informal sort of contact list and hello and everyone's okay. Again, the police know and the residents know very smartly who are the problem issues in various buildings.
What and specific, sorry, and just real quickly, specifically, I think it's really important that the residents know who to contact. If there's some issue that they see, are they supposed to call the Alliance number? Are they supposed to call the PSA4? Are they supposed to call you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be some clarity somewhere. That would be helpful.
So talking about the clarity and to talk about Joe's point, you said we're gonna have a monthly security meeting. So not to Joe's point where it's weekly, right now it's monthly. That meeting with that whole cohort of people coming together, having a conversation, and that's with our residents from our management and security team. So you have the residents from the management security team that sit down with those same organizations that we talked about, PSA 4,
Oh, yeah, I thought the monthly meeting was with the residents.
It's with the management security resident committee team. So it's with the residents, with those as well, right? To the point of
Oh,
trying
so
to
it's
get to
not
the
a
point.
public meeting. Oh,
No, it's not a public meeting.
I mean, public for all the residents. It's just for the security. team.
JD,
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, but we do think that having the meetings with the PSA4, the
Yes,
precinct, precinct
Yes.
and you guys.
the frequency is different than what, and the other part I would say is that, the posting, so, coming this week, we're gonna put, up for all residents in 5 different languages. A one pager effectively talks about, the scope of services, for the residents. We had a meeting with residents, a few months ago, talking about the scope of work, the scope of service. But we're gonna put together a one pager, 5 different languages that will go and get hung on all the residents' doors. We'll also post it in the lobbies.
And that'll
So that
have the
they'll
phone
have the
numbers.
phone number, they have the email address for the respective sites, as well as, again, trying to make clear, hey, for emergencies, you call 911. I mean,
Yeah.
But for these sort of type of issues,
Mhm.
you reach out to this number and they will, come to us.
I want to go to JD, but Lois has a follow-up question on the coordination.
A lot of people don't know who Alliance is, and your presentation didn't really give a sense of who Alliance is. It's a security company. You find them throughout New York City in a lot of business. So yeah, and they're all over the city. They're very experienced. There is a screening process around who works for them, and you will see them in a lot of high-end office buildings, right? So it is a good security company, but we did not know that from your presentation about who they are, and that they will already have experience in coordinating with who would be providing the emergency service, which is always under police.
I just think that our community board has extensive experience in coordinating among various city agencies, and police departments have turf issues. And I think you need to recognize that and increase the frequency of your coordination meetings, because your issue about a monthly basis is not going to manage that homeless individual that is known to 10th enter the precinct or the PSA4, and his problem has been here and there, whatever, and the more it's brought up to them, they get the social service component also engaged, because they have a whole line to that, and they're dealing with these kind of issues. We want to get that done sooner than later. A month is way too long. I mean, we dealt with this on hotspot areas over and over. So let's go to GD.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for the presentation, and forgive me, I'm not quite up to date on how this works, but correct me if I'm wrong, are there 18 buildings that you're going to patrol with the foot patrol? Is that correct?
No.
So, is it JD?
It is, JD. You have something about foot patrol.
Yes, so there'll be,
Go ahead.
so JD, yeah, there'll be foot patrols, 2 at Fulton, 2 at Chelsea. So there
How
is,
many buildings?
so there's 11 buildings at Fulton that those 2 people will be walking the campus, and again, having access to lobby doors. So to the point, if Hector or someone calls and says, hey, there's someone in my lobby, they'll go and try to, verbally have a conversation with them, and not
Right,
call
I'm
Facebook.
just trying to feel, so there'll be 2 for those 11 buildings
2 for those 11 buildings,
and 2
and 2
for,
up here for the 7 buildings.
and is that, who determines that that's adequate? It seems 2 patrols for 11 buildings, 24 hours.
Well, they're around the site, not standing in line. They're roaming around.
Right. And you're
patrolling.
So considering that adequate.
Well, I mean, there was an assessment made by Alliance Security, that was an adequate number. I mean, adequate number.
It doesn't sound adequate to me, but they say it is. My second question, if it's not adequate, then what? Would you put more patrols? How do you know if it's working? You're the perfect writer.
I mean, that's a great question. We have to come up with an assessment of like how we're assessing, what's the results we're trying to achieve? Is there less complaints from residents? We have, again, one of the things we want to do is sit down with their management security team again and set out goals, right? Like, what are we trying to see that's being reduced? Is it,
Right.
is it just the fact that like there's less homeless people on the campus? Is it the fact that high school kids ain't getting into lobbies? We know what their concerns have been, but.
Is that in 6 months, 3 months, or just?
Well, we have our first meeting that's gonna happen, I believe it's in April. So our first security meeting is gonna be in April, so technically we have from the 19th until that first security meeting that happens in April. And then we'll be able to assess what has happened so far.
Why do we recommend a 30-day and a 60-day assessment?
Yeah.
So if that doesn't work, you will reassess and perhaps put more foot patrols and whatever you need. Is that correct?
We will, yeah, we will reassess, and there's a potential that we add more for pro.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on two things that I know I've heard about over the long arc of these many meetings, but I just want to refresh my memory. But do I remember correctly that this is the largest tear it down and build up project
Yes.
ever, right?
Yes.
So
I actually don't know that.
well,
to
I
be
mean,
a certainty.
in this realm, so
I gotta
the
ask.
question of, answer my real question, which is, have you guys ever done this before? Is, well, no, because no one's ever done this before, right? Essentially, that's, and I wish everybody well, I hope this works. Well, my other question, I think I touched base with you after one of the meetings. This is such a big thing. What is there any built-in? I think of all such things as being an opportunity anyway, for sustainability, local 197. In our little building, we all live in fear of our boilers needing to be replaced because they're so amazingly expensive. So we're looking at everything we can find to try and cut the cost down. Is there any of that built into this? Because I read something very nice about rare, but nice thing about NYCHA, they ordered a huge order, I think it was heat pumps in the last 2 or 3 years, and it moved the market. It actually, 30,000 of anything, it gets their attention, they start building better stuff. Is this,
Paul, as part of this going forward, which we're not touching,
Sorry?
as part of this going forward, which we're not touching tonight,
okay,
there is a complete sustainability change, no matter what, no matter whatever version. Everything in one way or the other is gonna be all new.
Good.
So that's it.
thank you.
But this is security and pest control tonight. Yes. Pete.
In regards to your security. You state that you're gonna have 2 security persons. For the entire complex.
For each
And
campus.
that would be a total of 4. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Will there be a centralized place where one security will be there to receive the phone calls or the complaints?
Yeah, so there will be a there will be a super on campus, that will be able to take all the calls, for Chelsea and then.
An administrative type person.
Yeah.
So it's not one of those, when the calls come in, they're not going to those people patrolling, they're going to somebody else, and then there's like a dispatch to them.
So it's like, first way it goes to someone who is patrolling,
Oh, it does.
right? And if it doesn't, like, if he's busy, whatever, it goes to like their headquarters, and then they will then coordinate, with the people on site.
So they'll have an office will there be offices on each campus for those folks to,
There are lockers. it's
Like
just-
locker, yeah, that kind of
lockers,
stuff.
like, that sort of thing.
Bathrooms.
Yes, on each campus.
How do you keep track of their whereabouts? I mean, in private buildings, you have kind of like a checkout point with the card, so stating that they made the rounds a specific hour. Are you thinking about putting that into place? Or?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things based on, resident comments and TA meetings, et cetera, was that, there are certain locations that are hotter issues than, hotter areas than others, for teenagers coming in at a certain hour, what have you. And so some of that is that when they're patrolling, they patrol a little closer around those areas and during those times. Same thing up here on this campus, there are certain areas that have had a little bit more crime outside the buildings, a little more of a trespassing scenario walk around. So we're gonna hang around those a little more. But again, part of it is, we're kind of rolling out the plan right now. We gotta figure out what's happening, figure out how effective it is. And then we're gonna have a meeting where we talk about, kind of next steps. How do we make it better? How do we improve the service?
let me try to again rephrase, because our community board had very direct experience with this in a lot of the COVID or migrant asylum seeker hotels. And security actually, the security companies posted QR codes around the campus in order to provide information that they did check in and did the full campus thing. We did that on 57th Street at the Watson. It made a huge difference because it meant they were patrolling more and getting information back that they had been there. So we're recommending to that
So
QR.
this is actually one of the great ideas that Greg had as a part of our plan. But again, we want to kind of test it out, see what happens, and then we'll start implementing some of these things.
That's sort of big.
This people online, you have members.
Yes, so I want to go to our members online, which are Wilson is next.
I'm having some difficulties just kind of accepting this whole private security thing right now at this phase of the project, right? For me, as a former law enforcement person, I just see potentially a lot of ugly situations arising from folk, between situations just kind of arising, and then these poor security folks having to call in and wait for NYPD to show up anyway, right? I'm not sure if this is the answer per se. And I appreciate the effort of somebody trying to do something. I'm having some issues thinking that this is going to work. In addition to what was said earlier by my colleague about having folks who live on campus actually work there as well, right? That also for me is just does not sit well. I just want to put that out like on the record.
Travis, is Betty still on?
Betty?
No, Betty doesn't see.
Travis?
I think everyone's already voiced my concerns, but I'll echo again Wilson's concern. It's like I can already see, like I believe in community policing and having police come from the neighborhood, police the neighborhood. We talk about security guards. Like people inherently don't respect security guards in the way that they should. And if I've grown up with you in my neighborhood and don't like you for whatever reason, and we have a history of not liking each other, I would foresee there would be more conflict. So I think realize this presentation, it's noble in the fact that you're trying to present jobs to people that live in this community, but I think it's naive in that you didn't take into consideration some of the lifelong experiences some of these folks might have had with each other.
Thank you, Travis. We're going to go to members of the public, but first, any questions from other board members
Yeah,
here?
no, just-
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Who requested this? And the tenants requested private
Yes.
security?
Yes.
That was not clear at the beginning.
So JD, yes, the tenants, as we were having these conversations, voiced their concern about the issues that would happen on the campus, and said they would like to see, enhanced security.
Thank you.
So sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing that I think, the thing that's on my mind is about imagining being a tenant and not understanding or not being clear about the plan. And thank you, Dolores. I didn't realize who aligned these was. For that should be in there too. But I'm thinking that I know you have HOU and my understanding is their role is to engage tenants or residents, as you call them. And I'm thinking, and you mentioned you're gonna provide a flyer with the number, the email address to all the residents. I think that's a good idea, placing it on their doors. Also, I think having on the flyer, just like what can and cannot be done. Something short, simple, sweet, and in different languages.
To manage the expectations.
Yeah, because that's.
And frustrations.
Because I think that's a really big issue. Also, I hear you about the lobby TVs. I think that's well intentioned. I don't know if that's the best idea, especially if someone's not leaving the home regularly. I think the best way is you have HOU and utilizing them. I don't know like what their agenda looks like, their daily plan, but having them continue engaging residents is really the best way to continue to engage, right? And that was it.
I'm gonna go to some board members in the audience that have spoken yet and come back. Josephine, as a board member.
Josephine.
You gotta come to that X, otherwise the virtual people can't hear you.
Yeah.
Then we'll
X marks the
then we'll come.
Related, is that this company?
Related.
Is this the same company that did the demolition and the rebuild of Liberty Square in Miami? Is it related?
Yeah.
No, not different. That's related. Same logo.
But no, it's the same company in addition. No?
There was some connection a while ago.
Yeah.
All right, so there's an affiliation. Okay, the reason I'm asking is because there are a lot of I don't knows and need to figure things out, etc. This is a community here. People are terrified. This is no joke.
No.
And we need real comprehensive answers
as to step by step what's happening. For 6 years, we've been told that this is going to be a partial demolition. And within the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks or so, we get this complete turnaround. And you're coming to us without the answers that we need. And for you to even say that, when I first asked you, are you part of the same company related, and not giving a direct answer is very concerning to me. I'm part of Community Board 4. We have a community here, we've been here for a very long time, we are looking out for everybody, we're all neighbors here. So please, you need to come back to us with answers and honest answers. And so I thank everybody for coming tonight, but that's my question. I feel like this has been done before, maybe not 18 buildings to that extent, but this has been done before. There are a lot of questions about displacement, what is happening to people of color, being moved out, and we are not getting answers to those questions, and those are the questions that we need answers to. So I'm gonna be coming up and asking questions later, but that was the main thing I wanted to know is same company, so thank you.
Gonna go to Rachel and Jessica Chase.
Going along with that theme and what Maria said, language accessibility, please consider that in your. Because like, 42, you can be over there, they have slides in different languages. Several of our community members, residents have come and needed translation assistance, so please, again, bear that in mind. Not only is this information already hard to comprehend, if you're not a native, even more, please take that.
Jessica. Yes.
Thank you, Jessica. Chair of CB4. Thank you. My question is actually about how you will coordinate with NYCHA on additional elements that could impact security and to the degree to which you're assessing security beyond just the suggestion that perhaps 2 may or may not be sufficient. I'll note that walking up 26th Street today, I noticed that a lot of lights on this campus are out. Or weren't on, let's say. I don't know why, it could be time. I'm sure there are many explanations. But how will you work with NYCHA to really assess where are those potential weak spots that can have a meaningful impact on improving security? And what, I know we just said this is a public meeting and you may not feel comfortable speaking about NYCHA in this moment, but I would like to address at some point how we can work to hold NYCHA to be required if it's on them to make some of these changes. How we can ensure that in any interim plan, the things that need to happen to keep residents and neighbors safe is happening.
So the question that started was, what are we gonna do in coordination with NYCHA? So there's a number of meetings that happen already with NYCHA. We have a primary meeting that happens on Thursday, where we have to tackle a number of different agenda items, from, resident engagement, to EIS. And then we have subgroups of those meetings that go into greater detail. But if you're talking about coordination, the security will be a part of, just like today's security was a part of the Thursday morning meeting, talking about, hey, what's the next steps? So we'll be able to communicate with them during that forum. And if we need to have a separate, very specific security meeting with NYCHA on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis, we'll be able to accommodate that as well with our partners.
Great. I would just say that I think that suggestion of a weekly meeting with folks on the ground here to understand, are the lights out? Are doors not opening or opening all the time? Or what are those issues that can then be fed back to your weekly meeting? Seems like a really good feedback loop to ensure that these things are met.
Thank you. I'm gonna read out the names of the public who signed up. If you haven't, please come and sign up. If I say your name incorrect, apologize. Mildred Cordova, Lenny Rosado, Alexa Cruz. I can't read the first name. The last name is Medina, C.A. Goldwell, Miguel Acevedo. Anyone else want to speak? Then just come over and you can sign. So we'll start out with.
No, let's get them in.
Yeah, no, yes, we'll start out. Okay, someone's coming to sign. Yeah, the first person is Mildred Cordova. Yes. Yeah, right there, yes.
Please, silence your phone.
Hold on 1 second, someone's phone's ringing. We gotta get her, she's the phone lady, we know. Okay, yes, Mildred, go ahead.
I'm a resident in LEA with intelligence, and I've been there for 35 years.
little bit louder, could you hear?
A little louder.
Yeah.
I don't like what's going on, because, you know, a lot of people are complaining about it, you know. Because a lot of people don't want to leave their homes. This is their home. Or, you know, they don't want to knock down the building. Or, you know. They need to fix them. That's what they need to do. Okay? Not just sorry for that. Because a lot of them thinking they're gonna go, they don't know where they're gonna go.
Thank you very much, Mildred. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next person is Lenny Rosado. And I have no doubt he'll speak loud enough. Louder.
I have a question for Jamal and also something I want to bring up to Wilson. I've been in the security industry for 28 years. I worked for Hudson House, I was a security coordinator there, 12 years. I was a security director at the Maritime Hotel right there in Chelsea. I had a question which you already answered. I was concerned that you guys were good where people security does control, that they're in the stand, and I did this. Because in my field, there's been a lot of security officers that don't get the job. They don't like sleep for 3-4 hours.
Hangando afuera.
They don't. You know, I want to make sure that these things are in plan, that they're doing it. The second question I have,
Lift your mic.
It was for Wilson, I think you said?
Yeah.
yeah, no, I had another question. The security officer. Oh, Alliance is a great company. I worked for Alliance. Okay. I worked at the 9/11, but World Trade Center. It was a great experience for me. Like you said, Alliance covers, they cover big war buildings. You know, it's so they chose a great company. They're for these security companies. The other two are kind of weak. The Alliance is strong, organized. And I agree with everyone here that's saying that I think we should have flyers saying that these guys are gonna do.
What they're not gonna do.
Yeah.
What they're not gonna do, more or less. Where there's a supervisor site checking on these guys, but they're doing their job so far. How much about it? Now, my question to Wilson is, can you give me the definition of security?
Normally, we don't, have
Right, right.
yeah.
We don't.
So, why do you give your?
You're not comfortable with security, you're not the vote. I'm in a security field, I work at Covenant House. We put our lives on the line dealing with kids coming from jail. These are 18, 19, 20, 21 years. Kids with mental health issues. That we had to go to the floors, because the counselors called us. Because the kid's bipolar, he's falling through the mouth, we gotta deal with this kids. So they love them. We're there to support them because social workers now pay them. I dealt with the Latin Kings, and Nietas, the Bloods, the Crips, they threaten us, they tell us I'll meet you after work, but that's part of my job. So they're always gonna be in the line of fire.
Yeah.
They said they're not police officers. They shouldn't do nothing, you know, if there's somebody homeless or whatever, they shouldn't approach to put their hands on. Because to me, security is public safety. That's the word. They just there to walk around the community, checking on things, and then their job should be, and I'm sure it's market some of this, is to call 911.
Right.
You know, if I'm supervising that site, I'm not gonna put my office to go on fire. Try to drag a guy out homeless from buildings. I get kids. You can ask me that. I get kids in my building every morning. From 9 AM to 2 PM in the lobby. 6 to 8 kids hanging out this fucking week. Okay? I tell my tenants in that building, because you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if they got knives, you don't know what's gonna happen. So the same thing I expect the mom, for the license to tell them, you guys are not officers. And they should know we're gonna work security. We're not officers, we're public safety.
Lenny, can you wrap up? Please.
That's all I got to say.
And Lenny, thank you for that. That was very helpful.
Thank
Seriously.
you.
let's go to Alexa Cruz. Followed by, Ms. Medina. Or Ms. Medina.
Hi, my name is Alexa Cruz, and I respect everyone here. You know, no disrespect, but I don't want related and as with NYCHA, I want section 9, no demolition. I have nothing personal against you guys, don't know you guys, but you guys scare the hell out of tenants. Because you wanna take over the landscape of NYCHA, and you wanna take over us. And then there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna go home for 20, 30 years with the contract that I don't believe anything, any promises. And about the security, about Alliance. I'd rather have the PSA work with us than the Alliance, because there are a lot of people that they don't get along in the neighborhood, or they're a little off, and it's gonna cause problems. It's gonna cause a lot of problems. So, again, I tell you, and I remind you, I just want section 9, and please leave us alone. Essence related, leave us alone. We were all right without you guys, even though they weren't paying us from the federal, even though the workers, the 70 workers took their money out of NYCHA, we survived. We will continue surviving. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Alexa.
Medina.
Wait, I think Josephine
We
said she
spoke
had
about
something. Josephine, did you have more you wanted to ask? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Your first name again? Ruth. Okay, thank you. Ruth, it's gotta be a little louder.
The Indian retail started doing it with my partner, being the year last year, Maple. It changed from private, local private, working radio, we have no leak. I mean, from all of and they did it in August, and I got sick, and I was in the hospital in November. So they plastered and did everything, but they never finished the painting. So I need to know, I need to continue calling that child for HOD from now on, being that they have a new plan to continue with this.
Relate in essence are not doing apartment repairs yet. You should continue to call NYCHA. And also if HOU is there, they can help you in calling NYCHA and getting the work completed.
Yes.
Yes.
And the question is with the security. I don't know security or if you're going to get involved with noise from tenants, like I'm doing that right now. My upper neighbors, they're making a lot of noise, they breathe, they blow heavy stuff, like 11 p.m., 9 p.m. when I have to go to bed.
So Essence and Related again are not dealing with anything in the apartments at all until the earliest June of this year, and we don't know if that's going to be covered. So I say again, go to NYCHA on this, but come to our meetings so we can help you constantly refer where you go to get the right service. Okay. The next person is CA Goldwell. Oh, Caesar. That's a new name.
Welcome, friends and neighbors. I'm a retired senior disabled citizen, and I've been going to these meetings for 3 years. Related in essence and how it and lying and cheating is every single meeting along the way, quarterly meetings for 3 years, wasting my time. 12 months ago, they pulled a bait and switch. They drove people out to some fancy building on East River that was brand new and catered to by the owners, Related, for a day trip with the family. Came back, put him in this room. This guy pretends he's Vanna White, stands up on this board and shows them new dishwashers if you vote to demolish the buildings and give us unlimited height restrictions, change zoning. Or if you don't, and you want a new building, that'll take a longer period of time, but you won't get the dishwashers. And the third option that was shuffled off in the corner was rehabilitation, which is what we agreed to 3 years ago. I ordered something from Amazon 3 years ago. I wonder where it is. These guys are snakes. Related, the whole business, Steve Ross. They are the war machine, okay? Steve Ross, Uncle Max Fisher, look him up. He started the NYCHA in Israel in 1948. His uncle, his father's brother, okay? He's doing that to us here. He wants us building this land. All the money that he has is coming from foreign investors, Israelis and Ukrainians, foreign wealth funds. So the richest motherfuckers on the planet.
Steady the language.
Okay. The richest people on the planet are funding related to take over our buildings. Okay? And the events of a few days ago with the Southern District in New York arresting NYCHA employees for corruption, bribery, racketeering, and extortion shows that this type of crime is common amongst NYCHA, largely incompetent, unvetted employees. What else are they qualified to do? Unvetted. Anyone wondering how it has been possible for Wormy, Bride, $13 billion man Steve Ross and related companies to get this absurd, malicious, Holocaust, genocide of NYCHA proposal this far?
Okay, you gotta, again,
We, the residents of
I'm sorry.
houses and community neighbors, call upon the Southern District of New York, FBI, Homeland Security to arrest immediately Steve Ross, DeMar Adams, Eric Botcher, Howe employees, NYCHA management, Tenant Association officers, NYCHA grounds crew, and all associated organizations of people involved in this racketeering, bribery, corruption, and extortion scandal occurring presently with this malicious Brad Pack LHLC Colton Houses proposal.
thank you.
And done.
Thank you, Caesar. Next, we have Miguel Acevedo.
Yeah, you're gonna ask.
Now, nothing, follow him.
Miguel, we trust you can follow.
So look, for the record, we the tenants are the one, now I'm saying it directly to you, Wilson, requested for security because PSA 4 10th precinct is understaffed. Okay, we all know that. They're taking retirement after retirement after retirement. Okay?
Every precinct across the city, same thing.
Right.
That's right.
So we need a deterrent. We don't expect these security guards to come in there to be heroes. That's not what we want. What we want is to build some type of security that stops. For example, you can all see here, if you can see it. This is a convicted rapist with a butcher knife, knocking on a tenant's door at 8 o'clock at night. And the tenant called 911. 911 didn't arrive right away, okay, because it was backed up. The tenant then called me. I made the direct call to the captain. I need somebody here right away because he's a convicted rapist and he's on the same floor where he raped a girl 4 years ago. Okay? The terror, we're terrified of him. I let you speak, right? So now, this is every single night. Homeless people live in Fulton houses in Elliott, Chelsea, right here. They're removed. The same day, they're back on our roof landing. Okay? We all know that there's complaints about how Alvin Bragg put out these weak bail reform laws that let criminals back out on the street.
Just be clear, that's the New York State Legislature, not Alvin Bragg.
Okay, but
It was not Alvin Bragg.
okay,
Factual. Yes,
it doesn't matter. Those laws are in place and our lives are in jeopardy. So whether you believe it or not, that security won't bring a deterrent, it will bring a deterrent. Okay? PSA 4 has done its best to do what they can. The kids from the school, you can read it in New York Post, they assaulted a resident senior at Fulton Houses last year, okay? That girl was back out in the street. These kids come to Fulton houses every single day. They don't let tenants leave their own building because they're busy getting high there. If they now see a security guard, we truly believe that they're not gonna come in and it's not gonna be as accessible to them to do what they're doing to us. And the most important thing, it was our request, it was the residents who want this security detail. It wasn't the outsiders.
Correct.
It was us, the residents, that need this, because we're not gonna wait till one of my senior citizens are dead because this kid with the butcher knife. So understand it. And when they did, Alliance came to numerous meetings at the tentative building and was introduced to us. So we know who they are. We want it, and we want this board to understand that it's needed at Fulton and NYCHA.
Thank you, Miguel. And for clarity's sake, it's clear the tenants association, as part of the whole project, asked for security, become part of this upfront. Everyone knows that. Again, for clarity's sake, the DA, Manhattan DA has nothing to do with changing bail reform laws. The New York State Senate and Legislature, signed by the governor, made changes that have unintended consequences that our entire communities have had to deal with. And the person who gets arrested and is let go because the bail laws have changed, that is part of it. And that is not gonna, a security situation here is a deterrence. That's what we're hearing about. It's a deterrence for our committee, for the public. It is not gonna change some fundamental issues we have with how law is currently enforced. And the last piece Miguel brought up, everyone should hear, very important. The police, NYPD across the board just cannot recruit enough individuals. There are people who have taken that there are at reduced staffing in every precinct in the city. So that has an impact on how we manage our city every day. Thank you, Miguel, for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Renee Kent. Renee Kent. Yes.
So thank you. At least one of my questions was answered. Who is responsible for repairs? This is what this meeting is supposed to be about. So we now know, as usual, it's NYCHA.
For now.
For now. But it is NYCHA at this moment, and they need to be held accountable and responsible. So that also goes to everyone who has a problem. You need to stop feeling that you should say nothing. You need to put tickets out. You need to get your elected officials. If not, Darlene is here, you should be speaking to her. If that does not work, then you need to get everyone else. The elected officials work for you. You are their employer. Act like it. Make them do their job. Next. The police, the security, the way you hire them. Like everyone else, that comes to us very fast. It comes to us to having spies. You should not have had. Now, maybe you could have put people from Elliott, Chelsea, Fulton, people Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea. That's not smart at all. You should never have done that. It comes across very bad. And that can start all sorts of problems, which everyone else has told you, so I won't go on anymore about it. Security, anyone else? Police have problems dealing with mental health issues. Security will have problems dealing with mental health issues. No one is really prepared for it. We have treated the police as if they are the go-to, the security is the go-to, homeless is the go-to. Everyone's supposed to deal with it other than people who do. This does not work. So that's your next problem. Who are you? Okay, this keeps happening every time. Okay, why do you stand there?
And what is your title, Greg?
Executive Vice President.
Okay, so why do you stand here quietly, never say anything, and don't introduce yourself unless I ask you to? Because it's the second time this is done. It comes off with you. Let's do it.
One of the greatest aspects, so he's.
What? Okay, so in the future, when I think you identify yourself, I hope I'm not gonna have to ask this again next month. That'll be the third time. I don't like repeating myself. I want to thank you for finally showing up. Thank you very much. I hope there will not be problems. There will be problems. We have a lot of things not answered. Everything from repairs, if they're ever going to be done, to who does what, to security. to lighting, to every issue. Everything that goes into MIH, none of this has been answered, and it's not acceptable. Someone's gotta come with answers. I understand this is difficult, no one wants to actually answer a question, and then everyone comes to them later and say, this is what you said. Because this is what it comes across as. You're not answering a question, is you really not wanting to be held to task when something goes wrong. You need to start coming here with the ability to answer a simplistic question. If you don't want to answer the question, you should not be here and leave us alone. Thank you, Alexa, you are right.
Thank you very much. Selena Oranis.
Can I say one other thing, Joe?
One minute.
About the homeless.
And I'm going to the rest of the speakers. I'll come back to you. Selena? Oh. Yeah, public meeting. Go ahead. And then Miguel, we'll close out with you.
We have,
Oh, 2 people online?
I believe we have 2 people online. We had only one hand raised, but I didn't like notice.
Okay.
Mike Noble.
Selena's, yeah.
So in response to the tenant who's constantly using her monthly rent payment as an argument to justify demolition. I know many people who pay rent in the housing, and they have not used it as a talking point to claim more rights over others. It's biased and tactless. All tenants are equal in their rights, regardless of their rent payment. However, if these pro-demolition tenants insist on not associating themselves as NYCHA residents, keep in mind that public housing was made for the most vulnerable, including the lowest of income earners. The newer programs such as RAPCAT has led to a greater housing sparsity for extremely and very low income households. I'm not just thinking of myself in this battle. I'm thinking of what public housing was made for. Those who are already willing to sacrifice their Section 9 lease for the sake of being privatized, they can accept a Section 8 voucher and leave, or move into an already RAPCAT conversion. And Miguel said that our lives are in jeopardy. And by who? Because on Family Day, at the Fulton Family Day, I believe it was in June. We were petitioning Lenny Bozzato, threatening to get his thoughts from the Bronx on us. This is on video. And it's also on video when Miguel is verbally assaulting a tenant from Fulton. They're aggressive. So we do need a security from them.
Thank you. We're going to folks online. And the first one is Mike Noble. Mike?
Mike, if you wanna speak, you just have to unmute.
Yeah, I just did. I'd actually lowered my hand because there's just so much to talk about here. All I can tell you is that I'm grateful to see the security plan getting
Mike Noble
underway.
is a community board member, just for people's information. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so, bottom line, I'm happy for this. It is indeed a deterrent. And, there's gonna be an awakening. These security guards, when they show up here, I think they're gonna be surprised at what they find. They're gonna be with PSA 4 on speed dial, no question about that. The issue is whether PSA 4 can respond in enough time, and I don't think they can. That's been the issue now. So you call 911 and you're gonna have to engage 10th precinct here at Elliott at least. And that's what you're waiting for, the response time for the NYPD. And a lot of these things that happen quickly, and the folks that commit offenses, they're gone quickly. So nobody ever sees them, I've got one of these door cams on my door. So does my neighbor. And just today, she's texting me, "Oh, look at this guy. I'm so scared." And I said, "Yeah, I saw him too." And it's a constant stream of the same people who are going in and out, coming through our 6th floor, going up to the 7th floor to buy drugs. The same people day in and day out, from morning till night. I've got them all. I've got records of who they are, what they look like. Once again, if you try to call somebody, they're here and they're gone, So it's a complex issue. Having somebody walking around and maybe deterring somebody could be a help, and I welcome it, so it's gonna be a tough problem. They're gonna be surprised at what they find, just like what Related found when they looked behind the walls. Big surprises
Mike.
here. All right.
Jesse, do you have somebody else?
Michael, Harachi.
Michael Harachi. Michael, please speak.
Can you hear me?
Michael, yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't live in NYCHA. I live in the community, but I am a product of a transitional housing, and an SRO for my brief period being homeless. And I will say that I did appreciate the security that we had in our building. Fast forward 20 plus years later, I live in a mixed income, high-rise, more luxury building, and we have similar problems with people that need mental health services that our whole health infrastructure lacks. We have people in our neighborhood, as you all know, that need housing as a whole, period, including people who use drugs. I think it's a mistake for all of us to consider or conflate that drug users, people who are experiencing homelessness and may have also simultaneously mental health conditions to be dangerous inherently. It's not true. I think that we're just adding fuel to the fire when the $11 billion department already has a large budget that they blow past every year. There's so many creative solutions, part of which I think the mayor just announced recently, which includes build more housing, right? So I think that will take a lot of weight off of the issues with NYCHA. I think those are long-term solutions that will take a while to fix. But when we talk about adding police to NYCHA, I think that will just exacerbate the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And no other speakers, Jesse, right? All right, so then let's go on this topic. I'm just going to reiterate some of the points that came up tonight as a letter that was.
I just want to listening to that part, not the rest of the meeting. We're not talking about police at the NYCHA campuses. It's Alliance, their security company.
What is the kickback on the contract?
So let's go through the items first. Yes, go ahead, JD.
I'm really sorry about this.
I'm sorry, Caesar.
Someone's talking. You gotta be quieter. Go ahead.
Joe, just clarify a few things, Maria, for me.
Yes.
First of all, Miguel's here, when you say the tenant wanted the security, there's a tenant group and they took a vote and most of them said that's what they wanted. Is that correct? Miguel? So, because I've heard from other tenants who say we don't want it. So how does that work?
It wasn't allowed to vote. We have a monthly meeting.
The tenant organization.
Right, the tenant association with the tenants. At that meeting, it was brought up that security is a possibility of coming to the development.
Right, in general.
In general.
That's right.
It wasn't about a vote, and majority of the tenants, when is it gonna start? Okay, we need it. And can I just say the other thing about there's been an organization, Bridge, that's been given a grant to work in Chelsea in Hell's Kitchen for homelessness. They met with the Chelsea Block Association last month, and they told us if there's any issues, because Jamal said there's nobody that's willing.
The Bridge?
To that Bridge.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get you the information.
Right, yeah, it's different. Yeah.
So they're looking for places that they can do the outreach for the homeless. And it's only one other thing, even though it's off the record with security. Just so everybody understands, with this project-based Section 8 voucher, we're from the working group that we met, that Joe can attest to that, so every board member understands. Whether we move forward with or without demolition, and it goes into reservation, right, what Caesar wants, right? It's the money that comes for it is still gonna be Section 8.
Right, so let me just restate, I said, and I said this, by the way, just to clarify what Miguel said, I've said it at almost every single meeting we've had. That the Chelsea Working Group report endorsed RAD PAC, conversion from section 9 public housing to section 8. It's in the report, and the community board endorsed that report. So that is an issue I've said to everyone who's brought it up, that's correct. But I want to get back to it, I understand, but I want to get back to our sheet tonight. And our sheet is about security and. Right. Gotcha, right, but again. Okay, Selena, again, we're not gonna settle the broad issues tonight. We're on 2 issues. So I'm gonna report, Oh, I'm sorry, JD's lost something to say, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that we feel that the tenants indeed, the majority of the tenants do want this security. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, we don't. JD, we don't know that, and certainly they cannot represent. Right, okay, all right, so now let's get back to it from here, so. Yeah, so what has been, okay, everyone, got to take it easy, please. So what has been reported tonight is the following, that Related Essence has executed a license agreement for security and pest control. Just ascend if I'm going through this right, okay. That there will be, starting February 1st, 24/7, two security guards.
I need you guys to quiet in the back, please. Ladies, I need you to be quiet. Joe is summarizing. This is the most important part of the meeting. Please. Thank you.
Okay, so there will be 24/7, 2 security guards at Elliott Chelsea, 2 at Fulton. They will have access to the lobbies through keys. They will be doing patrols 24/7. They will be engaging with PSA4 and the 10th precinct, right? Correct. Right, okay, now, you have saw also the question, they will not, we're gonna say this affirmatively, they will not be doing any vertical patrols at the request of the 10th at this time, right? All right, Alexa, I always listen, you got it, I always listen, I'm asking you to listen, please. I know, but honestly, really? Okay.
I feel very upset because.
I get it.
We don't even get it. It looks like you guys already made your decision and you're gonna give us rat pack, whether we like it or not, you're gonna shove it up our mouth.
Okay. There are 2 guards at Elliott, 2 at Fulton, both 24/7. There's also a mobile patrol on the weekends in a car, mobile patrol on the weekends in a car. We have noted that it would make sense in this project, because they haven't said in this proposal, that you institute QR codes, not after a while, but immediately to verify that security guards are in the entire circumference of the campuses. Second, that you have a 30-day and a 60-day assessment of how this security program is working, and you report back to the residents and the board what you have found. Third, that you don't have a monthly coordination meeting, but a weekly coordination meeting with the 2 precincts involved. And that for homeless services, the board will engage and look at our various providers that have been effective in order to recommend a provider that can work in conjunction with PSA4, 10th precinct, and your and Alliance. Have I missed anything from the committee members?
That was excellent. There was also, they were going to assess after 3 months.
No, I said 30 and 60 days. Our recommendation, not theirs, right?
And take action if needed.
Now, Maria, anybody on that summary, did I miss anything? That's correct. Go ahead.
I see that this is a committee discussion.
Go ahead.
I think, did you mention the, having, minutes during the meetings or having a spreadsheet with the problems and the
Minutes of what
outcomes?
happened, so we have a record and can report it back. That's important. Anything else? Did I miss anything, folks, from the committee members? Okay, now I'm gonna go to pest control.
You said
Yes,
Yes.
pest control, which is much shorter. It is definitely beginning on March first, right?
Yeah.
It is pretty much the campuses, and there's a whole list that will take that from the presentation. But I do want to make one recommendation to you. You mentioned tracking powder and burrows, does not work, hasn't been used in a long time. I've had, unfortunately, extensive rat experience the last year. We use freezing. Like it's a CO thing down the burrows, the rats die in the burrows and they don't come back. It takes multiple applications, but it's really actually very effective. So just put that out there as a thought alternative. Is there anything I missed on the pest control? Because they're not starting the pest controls in the apartments until much later. This is the campuses. Did I miss anything? Committee members? Katie?
Actually, I thought you said, I mean, it's outside, but I thought you said there was also something that is inside, like in the maintenance of the.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm gonna pick that up from the presentation. I gotta hold it. All right, so on the presentation tonight, which we expected to be broader, which is much smaller on just security and pest control, right? Is there a motion that we write a letter confirming all those points back to Related Essence and NYCHA?
And that we're asking them to come back and talk to us.
Absolutely, yes, yes. Motion by Kate, second by Roberta. All those in favor, please say aye, raise your hands. All those
Aye.
online, please raise your hand. Wilson, Travis, all those voting against, abstention, present and eligible. Okay, that passes. We did a specific thing tonight we have to do. I want to thank Essence and Related, Jamar and Greg Boucher, right? The Executive Vice President of Related will introduce himself on a regular basis to us. And that's the first part of our meeting. Thank you for coming. And now we have an entirely separate section, which is also Chelsea NYCHA, but you may excuse yourself. We do not need to.
You are.
Yeah, listen. Thank you so much. All right. Yes. So, this is now not a specific discussion about security and pest control. This is a broad discussion now about, sorry, I got 17 notes here, apologize. This is about this committee's recommendations to the Chelsea Land Use Committee, who is considering this matter. Steve, you got to keep it down, Caesar. We're getting to the next item. About that we have received, as you know, a draft environmental scope of work from NYCHA and HPD. There have been a series of public meetings and public hearings in the last couple of weeks about it. And now the board this month, and the deadline to respond is March 8th. All our comments as a community about that draft scope of work. The Chelsea Land Use Committee is taking the lead on it, but other committees that are involved in this are also weighing in. And that's our job tonight. I know it's very late at 8:26, but we have to do our best. Let's spend at least, 20, 25 minutes to get people's points of view out here, right? And what I want to do is I want to just put out some discussion points for people to start thinking about as part of the things we are responding to. So as we've all heard, that the Chelsea NYCHA working group recommended a renovation plan with some infill construction, and instead presented to us now with a full demolition and replacement plan. So one of the things that we have to talk about and think is that does our community board as part of the last part is we have to recommend things to be studied. And if they're not studied in this environmental impact statement, they cannot even be thought about to be implemented. So that means we can be very open and very broad. So a general question. Do we want to recommend a mixture of new construction and renovation, for example? Because we're trying to figure out a way to get consensus back. Do we want purpose-built senior housing? That's what our committees do all the time as part of this plan. Because right now, that is not really necessarily fully included on both campuses. The plan currently calls for the buildings for the current NYCHA tenants in this conversion from Section 9 NYCHA to PACT in 4 buildings or 3 buildings, and they would be segregated in those buildings. Do we want, and that was specifically about by phasing in a certain way, gets the new NYCHA replacement housing built first. However, the end game here, the end result is that in our community, we are very focused always on integrated housing, all different levels, all different types. And this is something that we have never done before, where this group or that group goes to these buildings, and then there's other mixed income buildings. It's a big question for us to really grapple with and think about. So, and to put in perspective, 30% of the land will be used for the NYCHA buildings and tenants, and 70% for the new mixed income housing. So that's a question for us to grapple with. The next thing is, we were presented that there would be development outside of the public review through the ULURP process, again, in order to accelerate the plan. So there would be some large towers built that can be built, and the phrase is as of right. More and more, as we talk about this in our community, in our board, the question is, do we expect to have any sort of as of right happen prior to the full public review? Because a public review is where the entire community weighs in on what this plan will be. And then another important matter, which is so serious for us, is that Hudson Guild is on the NYCHA site. We're in the Hudson Guild main building. The plan currently is to relocate Hudson Guild temporarily off-site. More and more, we've been talking about this. Hudson Guild provides services not just for NYCHA, but they provide it for the entire community. And it's very important that, as we've been talking back and forth among various stakeholders, that Hudson Guild stay in place. And whatever happens, that it moves into a new facility and does not get moved off the campus. And so people to get some history here, which is amazing. The Elliott houses are named after Dr. Lovejoy Elliott, who was the executive director of Hudson Guild. Hudson Guild spearheaded the building of the Elliott houses. And as part of it, gave up its headquarters on West 28th Street that had been in for like 70 years. And it was demolished. And a new purpose-built facility was built for them. And it's been renovated many times since. So the point is that the idea of moving Hudson Guild off temporarily, and that is an issue that we really want to speak to avoid.
The whole building upstairs, it's probably only.
So here we want to, this is a kickoff discussion about elements. Either this is the work that we need to do to get everyone engaged in protecting the community, and we cannot just not hear it. So I want to go around the room and just get some ideas that will then distill, that'll get recommended to Chelsea Land Use, so we can start to incorporate, and I may have missed 17 things, okay? I want to say that.
My question
Yeah.
about your last point about
Yeah.
Hudson Guild.
Yes.
So you're saying instead of, that one thought or one possibility is instead of moving Hudson Guild and then
Temporarily.
building temporarily and then building their new building and then moving them back.
Right.
That they would stay in this building until the new building is built and then they would move in.
Right, yeah, figure out,
Just to,
figure out some way to keep the guild in presence, in operation at this location, and then it's a move to a new facility on site.
the proposal overall is that they're always gonna be that they move to a temporary.
No, the proposal is they would relocate off site temporarily for a good period of
But they
time.
would still be working. I mean, they would still be.
Right.
Yeah, they're not
But-
moving.
But we don't know to what degree a facility can be found to accommodate everything that's done today. It may be a mobile facility, that's the big one. So I want to go around the room and just give me some broad ideas. Thank God it's recorded. And we're starting with Roberta like we did before, just.
You might.
No, but you've been thinking about this too, you've been great.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
I'll just make a point that we have some, this is not precedent setting, like that's in covenant houses deal, which is not necessarily anything that we particularly involved in, say, but the final project initially, but they basically say what they were in, and then the developer built them
A new facility, basically.
no new facility, so they wouldn't have to shut down or relocate or anything. So it's something that we have, advocated for and certainly support.
Yeah, we've worked with these larger organizations to figure if they're gonna sell or do something to help them stay in place.
Yeah.
And if, in that case, the developer built a whole bunch of facilities temporary for them in their current site that were all went into the dumpster in the end, to keep them in operation.
And I just wanted to just like, well, so I just want to make sure you, if and when you speak about any of this, you obviously disclose your situation.
So let's go around to Roberta, some thoughts for our beginning laundry list of discussion.
So. That we have a sensitive on the way that Hudson Guild should remain on site to the extent that it is possible. Other one question that I had I guess two questions. The first is what public review processes are or requirements are involved in the section 18 process as opposed to user. I'm relatively familiar, but I think that that's sort of missing from this discussion. If there is not a regular process, there will be some form of public engagement. And I think it would be helpful to clarify what is part of section 18 and what we maybe think is missing from that process so that we can specify either why you think is better or how we could possibly strengthen the section 18 engagement process.
So, if there is any new development here, there will be a ULURP process in some way or another, because certain things cannot be met, even if it's not rezoned. Like, requirements about parking, but there's things that have to be changed, right? So there's gonna be some sort of ULURP process, whether it's grand or minor. So we have that public review coming. And NYCHA has committed irrespective of going through a ULURP process. Section 18 does require public meetings, and Simon's gone, right?
Yeah.
Simon's gone. So, but there are required public meetings for section 18. Now and the DEIS that we're dealing with is not just for a future ULURP, it's for the current section 18. It's required to have that environmental review, and then there are very specific mandated hearings. And they're not as robust as ULURP.
Yes.
Ever.
So then I don't know if you're asking us to articulate something about.
Yeah, whatever you think. No, I think we should say that we want to make sure there's adequate public review, like that's, yeah.
This is why we want to ultimately separate NYCHA housing from mixed income housing, but if NYCHA made, or NYCHA essence related made that choice, I don't know if they offered justification for that choice, but I do know that that's not common, or that's not the will of the board to.
Right.
Different, when there's the ability to mix them on different lines for buildings. So I would know that, I think that there may be this.
The only justification we've heard is that do the replacement buildings for the NYCHA residents because they happen faster. I think I want to say up front, it's really not, that's not a foregone conclusion because of the complexity of tenant relocation, holding out, all kinds of stuff that could happen here that could derail this entire thing. And I think one of the things I recommend is the board is very, very clear that we believe every bit of affordable housing must be integrated. Like the work that we do with inclusionary housing, we put, inclusionary housing up to 60% of the floors are for affordable, you can have 40% none. We don't pay attention to that. We make sure it goes up to 80 or 90% of the floors. We say the finishes in the apartments must be the entire same, no matter, even though the program does not say that. So the issue here is a lot of the lowest income people are NYCHA tenants, and we don't even know what the affordable range is for the new affordable units. And then there's market rate as proposed. We absolutely have for decades said everything must be integrated. So I think that's why that's really sort of emerged as a feel on the board. And I think the only justification is to be done sooner. Well, I believe this project is a lot more complex. It's going to be done in a longer time anyway. So let's just bear down and accept it. Other questions? Hector.
Yes, the work that Hudson Guild does is very paramount for the community, obviously. And moving forward, the League of Investors has been very open about communication with tenants. For example, there are working groups being formed, one of which is which is design construction, which involves that kind of a conversation where the campus and the apartments will be decided on what kind of structures will be formed. Will there be a park, where the park will be formed, where Hudson Guild will possibly go, which Hudson Guild is a large part of the conversation. So there is a conversation ongoing, but my question is how advanced it will be, because basically this is gonna be, they're gonna be several meetings in some. Fifth grade level, so moving forward. I know where this is been open about those conversations with the tenants, but I am concerned about the time frame that involves.
Well, I think part of this is that we are looking to put out specific things to be considered.
Yes.
So actually they can happen as we go through a long process. So one of the things we'd say is the guild's location
Yes.
must be kept on site and not relocated off site. They have to study that, figure out how to do it to make it work. And then it's that, you know, then it's,
And not only that, it's the concern about the health conditions, during the construction. How is that gonna affect the people attending programs at the Hudson Guild? Because obviously that may impact the programs that are ongoing.
I think
So-
that's a broader question we should ask about the health conditions and how the idea of demolition and construction is managed in general for everyone in the complexes, period. Right, so that's the end. Thank you.
Shadow from the new building.
Other issues?
Shadow.
Other issues?
No, that's pretty much.
Rachel.
Well, I understand that this might have been requested already, but I would like for us to again request a copy of the survey that was given to the residents as well as the resolve for any of the comments received during that process. Given that, based on the materials that were provided today, only 30% of the residents responded, and only 60% out of the 30% voted affirmative. So basically, that's the decision.
Caesar, please, he's talking.
So like you're saying, only a part of the residents seems to have responded, so I would like for us to, I'm getting to the point. I would like for us to get clarity on how the survey was conducted and what were the results after.
So to that point, the community board has actually is sending a new administrative letter that came out of a meeting that the board, NYCHA working group had, and we're asking specifically the numbers of households that responded in each development, which is appropriate, not individuals, and then how many total individuals responded. And we've said is, whatever it is, and it needs to be disclosed as part of this process, because it is totally, the lack of disclosure is creating distrust. And the bottom line is, whatever it is. So yes, we should put that in here too, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Rachel next, what else? Oh, sorry, Dolores.
I'm a little concerned about the descriptiveness of what you're saying in terms of wanting to have a study for keeping Hudson Guild in place. I think what would be probably more appropriate is to study what is the best outcome for Hudson Guild, because again, bringing up your point about construction, it may be a hardship for them to go ahead and provide services. I think.
You can't study an outcome, you have to study an option.
Well, what I'm saying is I'm a little concerned that we here are determining that that's what's been documented in.
They may come back and say this is not the option. If they study it and say it doesn't work for these 17 reasons, that's the result. We have to ask them to study it. Otherwise, we're not gonna study it all.
Are we studying it on behalf of the board wanting to study? Or
Yes.
the guild wanting to study?
It's our board is asking the question. We're writing a letter here.
But it's impacting the specific organization that we don't know that whether or not that's a new.
And the organization has been present in meetings and it's not raised issues. If the organization is deeply engaged with how it's gonna manage it. So they're in the same sort of odd position. So it's up to us to ask questions that people don't want to ask in public.
It's separate communities, different buildings. I think that there are some cases where senior housing, where it's standing alone, has a lot of benefit. We don't know whether that is appropriate for this, but many of the NYCHA campuses have become naturally occurring retirement like and science. So it may be something to explore whether or not that makes sense for specific students.
So that was actually asked in some of our meetings here. Seniors talked about they were in a senior building, they want to stay in the senior building. That's where the genesis of this came from.
For them to study whether or not that's appropriate, instead of saying that we want to continue to have this all not just mixed in from income range, mixed in terms of population. There may be appropriate for
Right, but I'm actually responding to what's been brought up in some of these meetings where tenants have said, we want to stay in a senior building. So that's, that study, see if that's possible. Pete.
As Dolores mentioned, some of these individuals who live in NYCHA, their families are, by the time they come back, they're gonna be. And many that are living here now are, yeah, are seniors. So, it's a natural retirement community, and I think we have to look at it from that point of view that this development has to kind of take that into consideration, and not like seriously, because I grew up in that. I know my mother was, and you're alive, so I know how it thinks. So it's very important that some of these individuals may not come back by the time that they're voting. Those are our concerns. How are we going to address those issues when you have someone who's ill, or in between, and they may not be able to come back? What happens to them?
That's what he's called Holocaust.
So again, one of the things we're gonna, we've noted separately, we have not yet talked about relocation. We talked about it briefly in one meeting, that anything for relocation, whether it's within the campus, temporarily or permanent, whatever, has to be governed by a legally binding relocation agreement. And if you remember, legal aid brought up to us, and said the rights flow from the building. If the building is demolished, that's a problem with the rights. So we have it as an open question, and we're not letting it go at all. All.
The story I always come back to, Joe, is the sheer size of this, you know?
Yes.
And we can't ask the question, well, what experience do you have doing? No one's ever done it. This is huge. I worry about the timeline and people passing on before it's time to come back. So I think we can't do too much constructive requesting, that they give us a timeline and here do it to the best effort possible. So one of the questions I had was, I don't think I ever remember anybody actually saying to Related or anyone else, has there been any kind of a historical preservation look at these buildings? I've heard both that, hey, these are great buildings built by union labor.
We found out in the draft scope, of work.
Yeah.
That the Elliott houses are considered state historic resources, and believe it or not, the Fulton houses, because of when they were built.
Yeah.
Right. It does not mean that they cannot be demolished, but in fact, they are state historic resources.
These are
eligible.
high-rise buildings.
JD.
Yeah, we are recommending, things for the Chelsea committee to take up.
Hear you.
The Chelsea committee is writing the final letter, and we're writing things that we're asking them in their letter to be included, so it can be studied as part of the DEIS. Because remember, we're the scoping part, we're not the final EIS.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but the area that they are studying. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh,
Quiet.
In the DEIS, the area they are studying, it should be a broad area.
It is.
Because how broad?
It is, what is it roughly?
Quarter of a mile radius beyond
The boundaries are well beyond the campus.
Because it will affect
About the Chelsea Historic District, everything. Yeah.
housing. It's going to affect the larger neighborhood.
Yes.
And so that's something that might be studied.
It's there already, but I think the note of they need to do a much deeper impact, more market.
What impact it's gonna have on lower income residents?
Right.
The larger.
I mean,
Katie.
Yep, so when we had our ACES committee meeting last week, we talked about certain possible uses of the community space that we thought could be studied. So we talked about having a senior drop-in day facility, right? Which a variety of places offer. We talked about having on-site daycare, about after-school facilities. One of the things we didn't talk about, but I think should be studied or included, is a home facility. And maybe, whether it's specifically, if we could have some sort of mental health facility, on campus, that would be great. I think it'd be.
I'm sorry, Caesar, I cannot hear the person too quick. You have to let her speak, because she has to speak, yeah.
So I think it would be nice if we could include something about mental health, or urgent care, some sort of, health facility.
So in the current plan, you've seen before, and we should, this committee is right with the comment on it, is that they propose a healthcare facility on the campuses, but it's a private healthcare facility, private, not a not-for-profit hospital. So I think he should weigh in to say we should be looking at only existing not-for-profit. The idea of privatized healthcare.
Right.
is,
So I think that we should mention this, yeah. And, also going to the point that was raised about sort of studying, and if we have all these, if these tall buildings are built and there's a lot more people sort of living here, I think we need to understand about the healthcare capacity. Like if we have a lot more people here, can the hospitals?
the general impact on healthcare, emergency rooms and everything.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also have a question about parking. Can we, parking?
Yes.
And, where is it gonna be? Is there gonna be enough? And when we have,
There's parking included for the 96 spaces that are open. But I know that
I'm just wondering if we can exceed that.
I would guarantee that. I think that belongs in land use better than this committee, honestly. Yes, Maria, and then Pete has a question.
I'm just gonna call out the bullet points that I wrote, which was study having more affordable units, more integration, increasing the scoping area, exploring the closest clinics, ER, et cetera, healthcare facilities, indirect residential displacement is, I think, the thing that I'm most concerned about. And also the last thing I wrote was Elliott Chelsea. I don't know how to frame this, but I wrote a bullet point that's important is Elliott Chelsea being eligible for state and national registers of historic places. Also, I wrote more senior programming, the Hudson Guild to be moved to a permanent space, considering all the programming instead of a temporary space. And I had a couple of questions about or exploring the 120 families that are going to be relocated. How many are adults versus children? Where are they relocated and where will the children be able to, will they be able to continue to remain at their school?
They're gonna be
at school, assuming that it's here at PS 33.
I think we need to just know that we have lots of questions about relocation. It's appropriate for our committee. Ask those questions. It's appropriate for our committee to ask those questions about relocation. If it happens at all, and at least qualify it if it happens at all. The last thing is, in this proposal, there is only, to our knowledge, low-income housing for NYCHA, affordable housing, non-defined, and then market rate housing. I would propose that we ask that there be middle-income housing also, and maybe no market rate housing. This is the idea that this is about how much funds that be generated. We don't know, we don't understand, no one's given us information.
Yeah.
But a middle income component is what was in the original Chelsea working group plan also to make sure that all levels. Yeah.
Don't tell us that, Joe.
Yes.
Keeping our building.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna go to Wilson next.
As I am an employee at a Hudson Guild, I want to just say just briefly, we are committed to the residents having livable housing, and we are committed to continuing providing services to the community as we've done for the last 127 years, whatever that plan may be.
Thank you, Wilson. Travis.
My main concern was the relocation plan and ensuring that people can be relocated back to their homes who want to return to their homes. I mentioned that before, so I'm glad that's still on the table, and Maria also echoed that concern. And then I want, since this is a study, the sound like the options were for Hudson Guild to either stay at this current location while another building goes up or be relocated after that. But if those two aren't feasible, can the study also include temporary options in the area so residents still can have access to the temporary site in the neighborhood? Is that something that can be explored?
Well, right now, the plan calls for relocation off-site. It says that. So
Off-site.
that's already being studied.
Okay.
That's already being studied.
But
Temporary.
are there parameters around what offsite means then? Like how close to the actual location?
We can just say relocation within our district.
Okay.
Right? Yeah,
I would like to actually make them more narrow to like a square block radius, because I mean,
got it.
yeah.
Don't trust them all.
Anything else, Travis?
That's it.
Okay, so just a quick run through then, that we asked them to study both the mix and new construction renovation, purpose-built senior housing, issue, the broader issue about the north that Dolores and Pete brought up. I'm gonna come back to Pete. Integrated housing, NYCHA affordable, market or middle, that no development should happen outside of ULURP from full public review. When we see the full plan in total, and we need to also rip the Band-Aid off that it's gonna happen in like 3 days. This is a very long-term 10-year project, and let's say that up front. That for section 18, there's adequate public review. The idea that keeping Hudson Guild on site and relocating them directly to a purpose-built facility, or that cannot be accommodated within a certain radius. That for the noted 120 families for offsite relocation, that we do not support offsite relocation. It's got to be on somewhere on the NYCHA campuses, because there's lots of vacant units, which you don't know yet. I've got that answer. We want the survey results. We're going to bring up that and refer to our letter.
Survey is fake.
That we're talking about healthcare and mental health care facilities on site. Some of the senior things already exist. We can say that we want them retained and managed. True. We want to note that the issue Maria brought up with the SHPO stuff, with the state historic preservation, the overall healthcare impact of introduction of many new residents of different income bands. And Pete, you have another word here. I think I missed everything.
I was concerned about the psychological impact of moving these residents that have been in this community for so many years. And I think we're gonna have to have some kind of social support for the services for that.
Mental health impact and social service support.
Yeah.
Indirect, so the indirect.
Indirect displacement, got it.
You know, and actually one thing, sorry, I wanted to mention that I forgot.
Thank you for your good humor.
Wait.
Go ahead, Katie, go ahead.
Just real quickly, I wanted to ask if whether it's new construction or total or renovation, whatever it is, there's gonna be a lot of stuff flying around in the air. Can we figure out if there's a way that tenants can be offered air purifiers or that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I want to know construction impacts and how they will be managed.
And
Manage and mitigate it, right?
And you're all on board with construction?
No, we're talking about, if they don't study these things, Caesar, they won't even have to address them. If we don't say study it, they can do what they want.
They're trying to.
Okay. Okay, is this, my recitation a good?
Yeah.
Whole 9 yards? I mean, I'm trying to do, by the way, we're herding cats here, folks, and you're survivors tonight, so God bless you for staying to the end, right? So all those, is there a motion to adopt this as our recommendation? So moved by Katie, second by Rachel.
Think about it.
Second by, all those in favor, please say aye. Those online? Okay, great. So we did 2 very painfully complex things. And thank you all, and thank you to the public for always staying with us to the very end.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course. They were the most 3 weeks ago.